Welcome to Pivot Happens, the plucky little podcast that could, with Anne Kingston and denMeer.
Episode 3, Pivot as a Verb, Part 2, with special guest Laura. At the end of Part 1 of our last episode, denMeer was about to tell us about a pivot she recently faced.
It's hard because what is implicit in resilience is that something didn't go your way. Something didn't go the way you thought it was gonna, hoped it was gonna. I very recently went through a little. I was prepared for this, very much prepared for this, so it was not. But I am trying to get an agent for my book, and I started writing my first query letters, and I sent out my first one a while ago. And luckily, Anne really encouraged me, and it's very brilliant advice. It's like, don't just have that one hanging out there for so many reasons. Number one, my inspired action. Once again, it's like, if you're not sending out more query letters, if you're not putting the energy toward it, that's not good. That's like not writing right now. That's not good. It's like, keep that energy flowing. But also, it's like, if you've only got one and they say no, that's going to hit a little hard. So I put out more query letters and stuff. But this week I got my first rejection, and it was very much a form rejection, email form rejection. I mean, which is kind of, I totally get it. I can't imagine what the life of an agent is like, to constantly have people with all their wild book ideas coming at you, all degrees of good and bad, and having to sift through and see if something catches your eye, what you think you can sell, because that's how you make your money. If that book isn't going to sell, why would you want to try to market it? So, but it would have been nice if she'd said, I don't think this is a workable topic, or whatever, or I like the idea, but I don't do this kind of book. But I totally get she has no obligation to provide me with anything. It's actually very nice of her to have sent me an email and let me know, I'm not in. So
it's hard though, because now you're just going to be in your mind. You're going to be like, you're kind of getting at, you're going to be constantly thinking, well, was it the topic? What, you're going to be.
Yeah. And one thing I think, because when I put that query letter together, it came up with a big form I had to fill out, and I needed to do a synopsis of my book in there. And I probably put that together way too quickly. And so as I've thought about it, it's like, I need to really, that's my next thing I need, I think, with my querying, is a better synopsis of the book. Because that's really, that is so important. And my book is kind of hard to talk about in 500 words. A lot happens in my book. And some things too, when you try to talk about them in a quick, condensed way, it sort of takes their power, not power, but their emphasis, whatever it is. It kind of, it's hard. It's like,
and you wouldn't know if she read it or just read the synopsis, right? You don't even know that.
And you don't know which part it was that caught it, or who knows. Yeah. Maybe, again, that's why it would be nice to get some kind of feedback on it. But it's also okay, because I aimed really high. I did not, I went for a big time firm in New York, a younger person, a younger reader. And I don't know, those could have been the things why we didn't click. But anyway, whatever it is, number one, I was very prepared for this. And I've said all along, I'm happy and pleased when someone says no, because that means you weren't the right agent for my book. And I don't want somebody who isn't the right person, who doesn't believe in it 1,000,000% working on it. So that's good. Thank you. Thank you for doing that for me. But rejection is not ever fun. No matter how prepared you say you are or whatever, there was a little bit of a ding. And it just so happened the day I found out I went to therapy, and I told her kind of at the end, my therapist, because we had other stuff we were kind of more focused on. And I said, there was a time in my life I probably would have gone and bought a pint of Jenny's ice cream. I said, but that doesn't really sound that good. And she's like, well, is there something you could do for, that little girl inside you to, kind of, and I said, yeah, I might walk down the street and see if there's a little shop. But instead what I did is I went to Trader Joe's, which is certainly, always a happy place. And I let myself buy whatever I wanted from, the fun aisles there, candles and whatever I wanted. Things I might normally be like, oh, you really? And it's like, yeah, I want it. I want that. So, so that was fine. And really, I mean, I didn't. Some thoughts flitted in and out, about, oh, maybe it's not good. And then, just getting to talk to people who are supportive of me. It's like, yeah, I just got to keep going, and it's fine. But I dare say that a different me at a different time would have been like, okay, fuck it, forget it. I'm not going to do this book. It's dumb. It's dumb. I knew it was dumb. I knew it's dumb. See, world is telling me. So I have certainly upped my resilience skills a lot. And I've certainly been, like I said, working on that for like the last 5 months. That's been a real focus of mine, and with my EFT and other things like that. But I think part of see if you guys agree, part of the secret sauce of pivoting is amping up your resilience, amping up your resilience and acceptance of what is in comparison to what you want. Because I've said before, and I'm sort of twisting this into this, it's like I look back at some things and I'm like, thank you so much for not letting me get what I thought I wanted.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Yes, because man, there are things in my life, and I know you guys know many of the things that I've told you about, where it's like, if that, again, I wouldn't be sitting right here.
Yeah.
Something I thought I so desperately wanted, and I look back now and I'm think, oh my God, if that had happened, number one, I would have been moving right on from that. I would have been like unsatisfying completely. So I think that these are important things when you're trying to navigate conscious pivoting. I'm going to call it conscious pivoting. I kind of like that, because that's what we're talking about. There's the pivots that happen, the universal pivots. We'll call those, there's universal pivots, which are like the stuff we have no control over, and we figure out, the control we have is how we deal with them. Then there's the conscious pivots where we're like, I'm doing this. I don't know that I always want to do this. I think that maybe I want to try this, or I want to go this way, or whatever, the conscious. So yeah, I think that's a good way to distinguish.
Well, that's the whole thing about like, and I think that's important in this one, is that whole thing about like being mindful of the future and preparing for it. Like, know that there's no way we know we all going to have multiple pivots.
Yes.
Like everybody, but including us are going to have, we know there's going to be, and then, preparing for it, knowing that it's going to happen. Number one, like I swear, when you're younger, it's unbelievable though. The things happen and you just get you're just like, oh, I just can't believe this happened. And that this happens to nobody else. And, I did everything's so unfair. Life is so unfair. I just can't. So I think that now that we can do this, that we're building this resilience and stuff, we can look to the future and know that these pivots are going to happen, and they're not going to always be the conscious ones. They're going to be some of the universe ones that are going to be difficult. But I think if you're mindful of that, it really, really helps. I just think that kind of thing really helps. And the whole thing about the resiliency, seeking support, doing like even the daily routines and stuff. People that have these, I find people that are like kind of unsatisfied or just have trouble with stuff. They're just not, they don't realize if they could just somehow calm themselves down and do like some kind of scheduling and those routines. I mean, I know it sounds kind of infantile because they say about children thrive on routine, but why would it be that just
adults
children
do too?
Thrive on? Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was like, as a parent, that was like the number one thing. Bedtime is at this time.
Yes.
We eat at this time. That, this is what, but then that's sort of, it's like, okay, eat whenever, or we eat now. It's like, but I do think that if you can have that structure, I think that's something that should be in the toolkit too, is having that, because you can rely on it. The structure is comfortable, on a daily basis, this or that's going to happen. I just, and for me, that's been really helpful as like an adult. Because I mean, I was just like, do whatever, change, always changing. And that's a good thing. Like, I'm glad that I lived through what I lived through, because I had so much change growing up. that I always looked at it kind of a positive thing. I was like, well, okay, here we go. First day at lunch. I mean, at a new school, first day at lunch, this is the worst thing. One of the worst things
Yes.
that you can
Yes.
go. And I had to go through it over and over and over. Like I literally went to like 11 different schools.
Oh,
I
wow.
mean, like almost every year. That's almost like every year. I mean, it was,
Yes.
and so it's, thank goodness I had stuff that helped, but it made it so it was like, man, well, all right. So now I'm walking into a boardroom with like whoever might be in the room. And, it's like, well, that's not so bad. I mean, I've
Yeah.
had worse.
Well, kudos to you to be able to, I mean,
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
that's the goal right there, is to be like, instead of being like, oh, it was so hard. It was so, and I'm not taking away, because I know my
Right.
mom went to like 6 different elementary schools. And so, I mean, it can go a couple of ways. It can be like you can then feel like an antisocial victim for your whole life. You can
Right.
develop
Yeah.
personality disorder. You can do all kinds of things with it. Or you can be like, well, you know what I learned? I learned I'm strong enough to walk in and
Mhm.
set my place here, and maybe it's not as scary. Maybe you do it enough and it's not as scary. And what an awesome thing to come out, because confidence is, even
Yep.
faking your confidence will get you so far in life. I do it
Yeah.
all the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, who starts podcasts? Who just goes says to their work bestie, hey, let's start a podcast. Okay. It's like, because that's how I am. It's like, well, we'll just try it. What's the worst that could happen? You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
record some podcasts and we decide, it's like,
Yeah.
but it'd be fun while we're trying. You know what I mean?
And then if
So
you never try, you don't know. Like if you never,
exactly.
like I
No,
think Anne, you mentioned that about the fear. Like
yes,
you gotta get out of that fear and that otherwise you're not,
Yeah.
you do
Yeah.
know. You do know if you don't
Yeah.
do it. Then you know
Yeah.
100% it isn't going to happen. So if
Yeah.
that's where you want to live, in the place of, I want to be sure, so I don't try anything. That way I
Yeah.
never risk. It's like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
let's say, um, yeah, what was that you were talking about? And also, too, I want to kind of double back here, because we were also talking about, and you were talking about wanting to um, encourage and foster resilience in like your kids.
Oh
and
yeah. I
and
mean,
that's what an
yeah,
important
because
skill that is.
I
Yeah.
think that especially as I'm about to put my oldest out into the world, he'll be 18 next year. It's really hitting home. Because there's just going to be just by default, he's going to technically be an adult in this society. He will be able to make decisions without my consent. You know what I mean? And it's not that I need the control. It's just did I set himself up for, and this is going to sound negative, but I do mean this, did I set himself up for failure? Did I set himself up to be able to handle rejection, failure, negative, did I set himself up to handle the really bad situations of, people offering him, you know, some bad things, like, not just alcohol and drugs, like did I set him up for that kind of resilience, the confidence to say what he wants versus, what he feels like he has to do. So, yeah, no, it's a probably a whole podcast all to its own, but
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really important skill that we don't emphasize a lot. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't know that it gets the kind of emphasis it deserves, because, and again, that's, I think it comes out of that thing of pushing people to be like, you have to know what you're going to do, you have to pick a career, you have to have a solid career, you have to do this, instead of saying, you get one life, and
Yeah.
spending it miserable is really a sad option. And I mean, and I know there's so much more that goes into this, and I'm very much aware I'm oversimplifying something, but how much could we help people if they could up their resilience quotient? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, their
Mhm.
ability to pivot, their ability to be like, well, that didn't go how I thought it was going to. And instead of thinking, well, I'm going to give up, thinking,
Yeah.
maybe that wasn't the right path, or maybe this path could be just as awesome, you know what I mean, or better, you know. I love the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and I think most people who know me know that because I clearly quote from it and talk about it a lot. But there's a character on there, Gina, who's not my favorite character by any means. Anybody who watches it, I don't want you thinking I'm like pro Gina. I was on the Gina hater squad. Anyway, but Gina is like, I call her as like the sitcom trope of like she's almost a sociopath, and it's like it's funny for a short time, but then it's like sociopaths aren't really that funny to me. She does terrible things all the time. But there is one where she says, she's talking to someone and she says something like, do you know how often I don't get what I want? And they're like, no. And she's like, never, because whatever I get, that's what I decide I want. That's what I wanted. And there is some wisdom in that, some Gina wisdom in that, because it's like, instead of being like, oh, I didn't get that, it's like, no, that is what I wanted, because I'm going to do this with it. And I know these are very broad strokes. I don't know. I know what it is. It's trauma response, where I have to try to explain everything and make everybody okay with what I'm saying, because God forbid I would have an opinion. No, it's true though. I mean, I guess I could, raise my hand and say, always take everything I say with a grain of salt or sugar, whatever you need. That it's like, I'm never oversimplifying everything. I went through a very hard journey. I know what it's like, and I know how it feels when you're in the bottom of a hard journey, hearing somebody say something like that. And yeah, there's a real strong urge to lash out and be like, fuck you. Because no, you're wrong. It's not okay. It'll never. I get that. I'm acknowledging that. But overall, on the other side of it, I do really believe that mindset is really important. And it's like wanting to have a great physique and a great body, but not wanting to exercise. It's like, well, yeah, you can go get some iffy plastic surgery. You can get fake abs. Did you guys ever see? There was a live concert thing. I can't remember, but the Who was on it. And Roger Daltrey's like, who knows how old at this time, probably 70 years old. And I don't know, Roger, again, here I'm qualifying again. Like Roger Daltrey's going to watch this and get mad at me. So anyway, if Roger Daltrey's watching, I have to tell you, those abs looked real fake, buddy. They did not look real. They looked like you had some kind of plastic ab surgery. Anyway, yeah, you could do that if you've got that kind of resources. But guess what? You don't have good abs. You have fake abs that look like abs, and that's not real. So to me, this is like saying, I want to feel better, but I just want to feel better. That doesn't happen in life. You have to exercise. If you want to get in good shape, you have to exercise. You have to, live a healthy lifestyle, whatever. You can't just sit here and go, I want to have, someone from the WNBA's physique. I want to look like that tomorrow. I want to be 6 feet tall and lithe and muscular. It's like, no, what I can do is exercise and try to get my body to the best it can be. I'm never going to be 6 feet tall. I'm never going to be 5.5 feet tall. But I can do my best, make my body feel better, work better, whatever. I can do the same with my mind. I believe that. Yeah. For me personally, that's a thing. So that's, I guess, what I'm kind of, get at with that. It's like, it's like a muscle. It really is. It's like emotional fitness. That's what it really is. And you can't just expect an easy fix. So anyway, how did I get on that little tirade?
No, it's all right. It's good though.
No,
it's good. I like that. I like the example of the physical and the mind, because I do think that people, thank goodness, I think that I know with my daughter and her generation, they talk about mental health now. We never. No. And you talk about like resiliency, teaching your kids, forget about it. Like my parents never were like, oh, let's sit down and let's talk about like, your
feelings. No. Let's talk about your feelings. Like, kids today are very aware of their feelings. Yeah, they are, and that's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? It was like, I always, the John Mulaney line of, "I grew up before kids were special." Like, I think we we all know that. Gen X knows
Oh,
that
yeah.
feeling. It's like,
Oh boy.
yeah, he talks about the milk carton kids. He's like, that came out a little after me. It's like, yep, we got to start looking for these kids.
Funny.
I know.
Yeah, no, I do think I do think kids today are much more in touch with mental
Yeah.
health, and that's a
Yeah,
good
thank
thing,
goodness. I mean, that's a good thing. So
Yeah,
I'm glad we've shifted, and then so if we could just get like
yeah,
a balance now, now I think we've gone kind of, so I think if we can, and I'm just glad that we're talking about it. It doesn't have the stigma that it used to have.
yes,
You
Yeah.
don't feel like if you say, yeah, I went through a depressive time, like it was literally a depressive. It wasn't that I was like in a bad mood or some kind of like, if it's long term and like, that if you've been through something that
yes,
is that, and you don't, people are okay about it now. You mention it now
yeah,
and people aren't like, oh, you're going to talk
oh,
about you were depressed at one time
yeah,
or you're
even
on any kind of medication or anything. You're always like tried to hide it and nobody
yeah.
wanted it, and it's just not that way anymore.
No,
Thank
and
goodness.
even like in workplaces, it's much
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
like
Oh
where we
yeah.
work, it is very acknowledged mental health and again, I think we have Gen or not Gen X, the millennials to thank for a lot of this because they were kind of that generation that stood up and said, you know what, I don't think it's okay to ask me to work 80 hours a week for real low pay because I'm low person on the ladder here, and I'll just find something more interesting to do. I mean, I love that generation. I always say they're the ones who are like, you can go live in Bali for like $1,000 for a month. You could just go and be in Bali for a month. And I think back to like when I was like their age, and it would have been like, who does that? Who goes and lives in
Yeah.
Bali for a month? It's like, but they're like that, and I love that because I think
Yeah.
that generation really,
I credit all of this to that generation. The
mm-hmm.
not accepting the status quo. Even going as far as being an indie author, not accepting the status quo, building it, creating something different, creating a new avenue. Like
Yes,
like you know what I mean? Not letting the walls define you. Yeah, I love
no,
Yeah.
it. Love
I
it.
Yeah.
know. I
Hmm.
know they had a lot of interesting things like the internet. I mean, that sort of, they really didn't know a world without that kind of connection, which makes things like finding out I can live in Bali for a month for $1,000. Like, oh,
Easier.
okay, yeah. I don't know where I would have gotten that information when I was 21, but
Yeah.
it probably wouldn't have been a trustworthy source. No, I mean it's yeah, and it's still, I think, I sometimes see, while there is more of an acceptance of mental health issues and stuff, I still see a bit of a lack of resilience there. I think that sometimes they allow that to become their identity. You know what I mean? That they start living from a place of broken, and that makes me kind of sad. Like, I was on the train and listening to a group of young women talk, and it was like listening to my mom's table at her senior living place talking about both sides talking about their illnesses and their doctors, and I have this and I have that, and really this kind of over identification with things going on with them. And it's like, well, I think it's good. I also don't, I personally just don't think, if you allow that to become your identity of like, I'm this way because of this and I'm this way because of that, it's like, well, a little, again, you don't have to stay in those places. You don't have to, I think maybe it's better than, like, I know when I've been in those places and trying to hide it from the world, that's not good either. But it's also like, I don't know if that's a place to stay. I don't know if that's a place you want to park. It,
Good insight. Yep.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And again, everybody can do what they want.
Yeah.
Trauma response. Trauma response. Um,
Yeah.
I just, it's I'm always afraid somebody's gonna come back at me and be like, "Well, you said you could do this, and I can't." And it's like, okay,
Broad strokes.
stay miserable, stay miserable. I don't care if miserable's what works for you. Stay miserable.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to save you because I think we all, anybody who's trying to do what we're trying to do here, has either firsthand experienced these kinds of issues and things and whatever it was, or they've lost someone, and or both. Hey, sometimes it's both. And trying to kind of avoid that paradigm. I think that's why what draws me to this is how close I came to just, checking out of all of this. And the people I've lost who obviously it was a perfect shitstorm of just no resilience, of no ability to see anything beyond that moment they're in. And when it happens multiple times, it's like, it gets really scary because it's like you find yourself, like for a while there, at different points in my life, I was saying to people I knew, I'm like, if you ever feel bad, if anything is ever wrong, you can talk to me, right? You can talk to me, right? I'm here, I'm here. Even though the other part of me knows it's like, you can say that all you want. That doesn't mean that's going to work. And you also, as much as I want to save people, you really can't. I really have had to come to that harsh conclusion. People are going to do what they're going to do. But I also think, and I look back in my dark times when there was stuff like this that I listened to or read or whatever, and it was the thing that got me through one thing and got me through something and got me at least out of the super low place to a place where I could hear other things. Because when you're in those super low places, it's like you're deafened to anything better. Yeah. Everything. So I don't know. I guess that's kind of what draws me to doing this kind of stuff. What drew me to write my book. It really is. It's like this idea of, can I be that little spark of hope for somebody? I'd love that. You know what I mean? It's like, and so I hope. But I guess that's what brings us here. Brings us to this spot. Pivoting and resilience, it is a verb. It is very much an action item that we have to do. We can't, I love it when like these sort of moments happen. I felt like there were let's recap a couple of good moments from this podcast that I felt like epiphanies I just sort of had as they were recorded. That idea of it being like taking care of your body, that really this kind of pivot stuff, that you can't just expect to get from, change to happen. It's like you have to do the work. You have to do the exercise. You have to exercise these things to make it happen. And I think that is really important. And that's part of inspired action and all of that. You just can't. You were talking about scheduling, and I have a planner book that I really love, and it's just for this kind of stuff. And every day I have meditation written in there, and I have yoga and the different things I want to do. It's not a hard set plan. If it doesn't happen, I don't check it off, and I might move it to another day. So I'm very, kind to myself with this. It's not that kind of schedule, or goals. It's not like that. It's like, but I track it, and I track what I do, and I track the different things that happen, and all my little stuff I do, and I really like that because it is sort of like that. It's like what somebody would do if they were trying to improve their fitness goals. They'd be writing down, I did 100 reps of this thing today, or I drank this much creatine, or I don't know what. I've never been that into fitness, so somebody will have to tell me what that looks like. And the other thing, what was the other little epiphany?
Well, the conscious pivot versus the universal.
You, Laura. That's why we need you here. Because my brain is like a sieve about 90% of the time. Yes, that conscious versus universal pivots. I think we have, when we write the book about this, that's what we'll divide it into, conscious and universal pivot. No, I do like that. I do kind of like having a little shorthand and a way to identify what we're talking about, because we've been sort of in around it, we keep saying the pivots that you want to happen and the pivots that happen to you and stuff, but it's like that really kind of, I think. So I thought that was good. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to talk about with the movement of pivot or your pivots?
The only other thing that just keeps coming back into my brain as we talk, and I don't know how you're going to edit this in, but
I'll probably just let it go like this, because
my mom always says, when you're in a situation And we're going to have my mom on, by the way, Laura.
Oh, fun. Yay.
If you
Awesome.
want to be in it.
Awesome.
If you want to be on that podcast too. Memorial Day weekend.
Okay.
So
Yes,
my mom
special
always
guest
says to
Rita
me, like,
Homrich.
yeah,
She says
Rita
it
Homeridge.
differently.
Rita
Homrich.
Homeridge is coming
Do you
on.
know, Laura? I
Beware.
don't know if you know that my sister's married name is the same as Jen's mom's married name.
Homeridge.
No
They pronounce
way.
it
And
differently.
Michigan Homeridge. It's Michigan Homeridges, yes.
Yeah,
Michigan Homeridge.
Wow.
I'm sure
Yeah.
that her former husband and my sister's husband are somewhere related because
Oh my God, love it. That's so
anyway.
neat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
special guest Rita Homrich.
So she's always been this one that, when you feel like you're in a corner, you feel like you don't have choices. She always does this. And at any given point in my life, what are some, give me 5 choices right off the bat. What can you do in this moment? And that's, I think, a good way to also pivot or also build your resilience. Because if I were to take it, like, for example, or in a proposal and things are really crappy and, we only have so many days to get 2 weeks worth of work done. What are 5 things? What are 5 decisions you can make in this moment? And I try really hard to also employ that. I do that at work a lot. I do.
Yeah.
But it's like you can use that in life, I'm at I have a flat tire, I'm on the side of a highway. What do I do? Oh my God, am I gonna die?
Yes.
What are 5 things I can do right now? 5 things. Give me options. I could sit here and cry. That's 1. You know what I mean? I could try to change my tire. That's 2. I could call someone. 3. You know what I mean? You're giving yourself ways to find a
Unstuck.
way out of it and doing it in a way that you can own it too,
Yeah.
But that also means you're asking for help. That goes back, we're going
Yeah.
back circle back into it. You are asking for help for some of this stuff. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that's always Mama Rita's advice too.
I like
I
that
love
one.
that.
Mama Rita.
Yeah, because you can do that for anything. If it's something you're not quite reaching a goal of, if it's whatever, whether it's work wise, physical wise, health wise,
Yeah.
eating wise, personal relationship
Right.
wise, like
I didn't get accepted into the college I wanted. What do I do? 5
Yeah.
choices.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
like
didn't
that.
get the job that I wanted. I got laid off. What are my 5 choices?
Yeah.
It's inspired action. Again,
Yeah.
it's inspired
Yep.
action. And you may not do any of them, you may do all of them, whatever, but it's like, it's that movement. Movement is so important, action and movement, because, again, sitting in one place and going, I wish it were different.
It's easy to get depressed.
Well,
It's very easy to
I
get
know.
depressed.
Wishes are real hard.
Yeah.
They are.
I remember
you have
when
lots
my
of them.
stepfather died. I remember when he died. I remember being so alone and feeling like, because I was 24, 25 when he died. And the part that was hard was, like, being 24, 25, you didn't find very many people your age who had a major death that was that, not no one understood. No one
Right.
understood what I was going through. And so I remember very clearly making a choice at that point in my life of, okay, what are you going to do about this? Are you going to just go back to college, cry every day, and gain another 50 pounds? Right. And I remember very clearly, leaving everything, funerals, coming back, going back to college. And I remember the very first day I got back, it was like, you're not going to do that. And I remember I picked myself up and I went to the university workout, whatever. I can't remember what it was, Laura, but,
Mhm.
and I remember I went there and I was terrified and I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, there were all these like little girly boppers all around, and I waited in line for a machine and I got on and I did that every single day, because it, just like when you're
So
walking,
great.
it
Yes. It's
yeah.
And I have to think your stepfather would have been very proud of you, because
Oh yeah.
I think so.
that he
Yeah.
wouldn't have wanted you to go back and wallow and have school be terrible and live in that place. And I know that's really easy to say, not when I can kind of relate because of going through my divorce and going to the gym. How that was
Right.
kind of like, I love that song, the Taylor Swift song, the Down Bad, when she says down bad crying at the gym, because it's like, oh my God. She gets us. She gets our
Yeah.
feelings. But
Yeah.
it's true. It's like those kinds of things, even though it's still hard, even though it's still like, But it's like you're moving forward. At least you're out of
Mm-hmm.
that. And I mean, with true physical action like the walking, working out, and things like that, you cannot undersell the endorphins that helps produce, which
Yeah.
also helps you then not be as tied into those bleak places.
And I should caveat, I never did that before in my life. I never walked into a gym and was a
Oh,
gym girl.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
no, I'd never. That was something I had wanted to
Especially
do.
there. Wow. I mean, especially there. That's even more. I
yeah.
mean,
College. I remember
yeah.
going to the college gym. I took a weight training class like my senior year. My roommate and I did this, and it was taught by the football coach. You can imagine how much fun. I'm amazed I ever went to another gym. But back then, back when, I mean, I'm talking about in the olden days here, um, there weren't Planet Fitness and La Fitness
Yeah.
everywhere. It was like going to a gym was like that. Like I'm in here with all the football players. There were aerobics because aerobics were really big then, and you could in a small gym somewhere there was somebody teaching an aerobics class you could go to, and that was mainly
But
women.
again, if we're
But
going to go full circle, oh, sorry, Anne, you
no,
finish.
no, no, no.
But if
Yeah,
we're going to go full circle back to, I think each of us can identify with, we all chose to take action for whatever reason or another. But I think there's something in the moment where it's like you're on the edge of being depressed where you don't take action,
yeah,
but you decide to take action. But when you take action, there is something very liberating. And I don't give a fuck what people think of me right now. I don't give a fuck if I'm crying, working out, if I'm sitting here, like, I don't give a fuck. I'm here. Like, y'all can
yes,
think what you want. Like,
yes.
I'm just gonna keep
Think what you
moving.
want. Yeah.
Mhm.
Showing up, yeah, crying
Because
on
you're
walks,
past
crying. I
that
mean,
point of
yeah,
like you know what I mean? You're on that edge, and then once you get a little further away from that edge, you start to go, okay, I'm seeing things a little differently
yeah,
now. You do start to care, but at the same time, you care, but you don't really care because you're past the point of feeling
yes,
insecure about it. You're feeling
yes.
confident in, yeah, yeah, that's
Well,
anyways.
and
Yeah.
or you're just all of your fucks have been given. You're just at a
Yeah.
point where it's like this is probably as I mean divorce is a really divorce, grief, death, all of that stuff is really really hard, but it kind of strips you of like the artifice of society and all of that because it's like what matters. You can really be in that sort of place, which is
Some of
can
us
be very
right.
liberating too.
Yes. That's a
And
Yeah.
great
crying
point. None
too.
of this
I mean,
matters. None of it matters. None of it matters what
no.
you think of me if I'm in the best workout. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No,
Doesn't matter.
no, it's like I don't have it to give anymore. I think too crying and release of emotions.
Yep.
I remember when I was doing my trauma. I trained as a trauma recovery coach, and one of the I can't remember whose book it was now, but he really encouraged like if you can just if you're feeling bad and you can get yourself to cry, man, crying is like, and you don't have to cry for long or whatever. If you can, it is such a it can be and as someone who had spent it was a little scary for me because there were points in my life where I couldn't stop crying, where I was in such a low place, and that's awful. That's a terrible terrible feeling. This is different than that. This is just like a release of emotion, and how much that can help too. It's kind of amazing. Like even if you just well up something like sometimes something will hit me and I'll well up tears, and it's like after it's like I feel
Yeah.
better.
Well, that's why I said I feel like Anne's 5 things from her mom is more, should be 4 because one's always going to be cry.
Yes, exactly. Cry.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's done. So now what else can I do? No, that's and we're. I think we. There are people who are very afraid of crying and very afraid of whatever it is. My mom will always say, "I never cry," and it's like that's not really anything you should be. I don't know if you think that's good or what, but it's like
I think they think they're out of control. I
I
think they
think
think
so.
like that's like you're
Yeah,
really, if that's going on, there's something really there
yeah,
because you're almost out of control, but it's your body's way of being like, all right,
yeah.
let's try to deal with this.
And this is, I guess I would say I'm talking about like a controlled crying where
Yeah.
I'm not so sad I can't stop crying. I want to cry because I've got this feeling. I've got sometimes like you have sort of this, and I love one of my tapping things is doing tapping for when you're not sure what's wrong because sometimes
Yeah.
it is like that, and that is a very confusing place to be. It's like I don't know why I feel this way, but I don't like it, but I can't put my finger on it. So I mean,
Yeah.
I think with things like that, when it's like there's like this sort of just like an ache or a hurt in your heart, if you can cry, a lot of times it really lessens that, because it's like, I think a lot of things are just kind of trapped emotions in our body. Our bodies tell us so much about what's going on in our heads. And the book that changed my life was The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. I mean, that was like, when I read that, my entire world shifted, because that was the first time I went from thinking there is something really messed up with my brain, I'm broken, I'm diseased even, to realizing, oh my God, I am a trauma survivor and this shit is in my body, and there's nothing wrong with my brain except that it's learned to be programmed in certain ways because of the trauma. And it was like, you know, that was the book that changed it all for me. But the big point in that is, your brain can tell you all kinds of stories. Your body doesn't lie. Your body will tell the truth. So if it's feeling things, and I mean, there's all kinds of people that take this all kinds of places, and however you want to take it, that's fine. But it's like, I really believe that the cause of so much physical illness is unhealed emotional trauma, and it's just finding a way out. And it's, you know, I'm not going to qualify that. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to qualify whether you agree, anybody agrees or not. It's like, that's what I believe. I do believe, because I have had things in my body heal when I healed emotionally. So I know it's a thing. And it's not like there isn't a ginormous body of research out there that proves exactly what I'm saying. I mean, this is, I didn't just come up with this in my head. This is out there. It's real. But so yeah, it's getting in touch with all of that. It's getting in touch with how we're really feeling, and giving it a voice and giving it credence and the weight it deserves, instead of just being like, I'll power through this, or I'll distract myself with something, because God knows there's a bazillion things you can distract yourself away from what's really going on. Our world is really set up for it. I mean, we have these tiny computers we carry everywhere we go that can distract us for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
You don't need a bottle. You don't need pills. You can just take that thing, because that's just as intrusive and distracting. Don't get me started about cell phones. Nobody wants me to go down that path now.
Oh my God, that's funny.
I get all, I in my book, it's kind of funny because the main character espouses some of my views about cell phones. Oh yeah. So anyway, well, I think that we have done a pretty good job here of talking about pivoting as a verb, and resilience as its modifier. I don't know. Resilience is its outcome, I guess. Root. Resilience is its root. And this is the Pivot Happens podcast, the plucky little podcast that could. And we do have a website, pivothappens.com. And we have a form on there if you are interested in coming here to tell the story. If you have your story, if you have a topic you think would be kind of cool, please feel free to reach out. We do these podcasts both on YouTube for video, and then wherever you get your podcasts, you can get the audio version for like when you're driving in your car, because you shouldn't be watching YouTube while you're driving your car. You should just listen to us.
Yeah.
And if it gets too exciting for you, pull over to the side of the road and just listen. Don't drive and be distracted by how insanely awesome the podcast is and how your mind was just blown. Safe driving with the podcast. No. Yeah, so we'll see you again when we get another episode going, and we will have Laura back. I am 100% sure of that. And yes,
thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. It's so fun to hear other voices and other ideas about this. And you have such great insights. I mean, it's wonderful. And Memorial Day, we're going to be recording. I don't know when it'll be released. It won't be released on Memorial Day.
Yeah, right. Mama Rita.
The inimitable Rita Homrich. It's so weird for me to say that because my sister says Homrich. So,
she says Homrich.
Your mom does?
Yeah.
Homrich. Okay, so Joni says Homrich because we're from Michigan. Homrich.
Oh, yeah.
But Homrich. Okay, not Homrich, because some people say Homrich. It's one of those crazy names. I mean, it's
I
like
know.
Joni's like, it's like, I'm rich,
And it's really funny how many variations you get of that name. I've
Yes,
seen come in
yes.
the mail. Yeah, anyway, we
Oh,
digress.
I'm sure from the old country it was Homer or something like that.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a vein of Michigan immigrant Homer, whatever they were
Yeah,
from Germany.
yeah.
Um, Interesting. So anyway, Rita will be here. Rita is she's a life coach therapist. How do you describe what your mom does?
She's currently she's currently a life coach. Technically she never did get a degree to be a therapist. However, she was in a master's program that she just didn't
Hmm.
finish.
Yeah,
Again, I feel like
there's a
she
pivot
could probably
story.
answer that question,
Hmm.
but if I were to, I don't think it felt like it served her at one point in time.
Hmm.
Um, but for the majority of her career, she was a instructor of um, oh, I don't even know what you call it, like a personal motivation course, but it wasn't. It was way more than personal
Yeah,
motivation. It was like therapy on steroids, and you
yeah,
did it over a weekend to really, really like truly get in touch with some core issues. Now, it was not a replacement for therapy; it was a
right,
supplement to therapy.
right.
But that's what she did for years. She
Hmm.
was, yeah,
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 so that's going to be, I think, very interesting. Plus, as you mentioned, she has a lot of pivot stories from her own life and how she's
yeah,
gotten to where she is now. So, and that's
yeah.
what I mean. That's what I think is going to be really cool is to hear that. And so, and we have another friend of ours who we're hoping is going to be on here soon, and we'll have an
Hmm.
episode coming out with my sister on it. That one is done, and we just have to get it produced. So it's really fun, and I really, really love having people on here. I love when we do it, just the two of us too. Those are fun too, and everything. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is fun to have other people and get some other viewpoints. So again, if anybody out there is interested, please reach out. We would love to hear your story.
Seriously, we are 100% non-qualified, unprofessional armchair psychologists. The Pivot Happens podcast is for entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for any form of professional mental or physical health care. If you are experiencing any mental health issues, please reach out and find qualified help. If you do not currently have a support system in place, the NAMI helpline provides the one-on-one help and information necessary to tackle tough challenges that you, your family or friends are facing. Call, text or email with the helpline MF, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. 988 crisis service available 24/7. Call 1-800-9506-264. Text NAMI to 62640. In a crisis? Call or text 988.